All right, we do start the 6 a.m. hour here with breaking news. Police are on the scene at UC San Diego where pro-Palestinian protesters have been camped out for 6 days. Thanks for joining us here at 6 a.m. I'm Chris Groh.
And I'm Neda Iranpour. Glad you're with us here. This is something we've been following over the course of the past few minutes as things are starting to escalate a little bit. So let's take a live look at the scene right now. So our photographer is there to bring this to you, where you can see a gentleman there that seems to be yelling. There are authorities right now by the encampment. So this is new this morning. Over the past, I would say, 15 to 30 minutes or so, we've seen more police officers. And right across from the walkway there, from those officers, there's an encampment. That encampment, you can see as well, has grown since last week when we first brought this to you live. It was, I believe, Thursday morning when Regina was out there covering this, and it was a smaller encampment, and it has grown. This comes after UC San Diego's chancellor did call on protesters to disperse. So now this morning, which is new, we are seeing these officers here at the campus as well, right again in front of the Geisel Library where that main walkway is on campus. In a statement from the chancellor, Pradeep Khosla says the encampment has tripled in size and said there is an increased risk of violent clashes. Yesterday, a pro-Israel group marched past the encampment.
Yeah, because here's the thing. The group Students for Justice in Palestine, they responded to that statement saying that they're disappointed but not surprised. Now, they previously said they plan to continue camping until UC San Diego cuts ties with companies connected to Israel. This is, again, a similar sentiment that we've seen with protests here really across the U.S. on different college campuses. The one thing we should point out here, as we're taking a look along the line there of the law enforcement officers, we have not seen violent clashes between pro-Palestinian protesters here at this encampment and pro-Israel supporters like we have seen in other areas. There have not been violent clashes, but again, as we just heard, the chancellor with UC San Diego is concerned that that is something that could happen because this did start off as a relatively smaller encampment, and as he pointed out, tripled in size in about 3 times here in just 6 days. And as you can see, this group was previously told to disperse about 10-15 minutes ago. And as you can see, it appears that many of them are starting to hold in, if you will, getting a lot of those wood boards up. So we don't know if what will happen next year, but this is definitely something that we're going to continue to monitor here. This group did say that on top of cutting ties with connections to Israel, they also wanted the school to denounce the war. Now, we do have a crew that is there right now. We will have a reporter that will be on the scene relatively shortly here. CBS 8's Alex Lai, she is on the way to bring us the very latest and to, again, give us a lot of the key details that we are all wondering as we continue to watch at least this one gentleman continue to, again, protest there in front of the law enforcement officers.
Yeah, it's not certain, obviously, who this gentleman is affiliated with, but we can tell you on the side where the encampment is, what's new also this morning, those wooden planks, Chris, as you mentioned, it looks like they brought out more of those and are laying those in front of their tents that they have had out there. So the tents have been there. The wooden planks, it looks like a few of those are new this morning, bringing those out as the officers are lined up. So obviously, you know, as we mentioned earlier, the officers said they had about 10 minutes to disperse. Here we are at 6:04 this morning. Not sure what the timing is, the timeline that they're giving these protesters to disperse. But with the looks of it, there are a few that are planning to stay. I mean, they have those wooden planks that are up there right now, setting those up in front of their tents. And, you know, many of them have said they don't want to leave the encampment until the university cuts ties with businesses in Israel. So that was something they have been pretty clear about since the beginning of the encampment being set up. As you can see, those are pretty tall wooden planks that they have up there. Likely a lot of protesters standing behind them now because those, as we mentioned, I mean, those were not there, you know, even 30 minutes or so ago. Those they just recently brought out as the police also have showed up.
No, and you can tell just the escalation of this as well, too, that the police in their riot gear. Again, that's something that should be pointed out, too. This is not just simply law enforcement showing up here. They've ordered the disbursement. They are fully outfitted in that riot gear. You see those riot helmets on there as well, too. So this, again, as we are waiting to see what happens, again, as Neda pointed out there, it does appear that several of these pro-Palestinian protesters are indeed trying to stay their ground, hold their ground here, as this gentleman continues to walk between both sides here.
Right. So, of course, this is all unfolding. Our photographer who's there on the scene bringing us, obviously, this live look. And there was a moment there where we saw some of the protesters also. It looked like they were chanting. So not sure what they were chanting or saying. But as we know, this has been set up because of the Israel-Hamas war. Many of the pro-Palestinian supporters there want an end to this and obviously end to the connection that some of the UCs have with investments there in Israel. So that's a big plea that they've been making throughout the days of protests. We've seen, obviously arrests made at other campuses, not too far from here. UCLA, USC, in New York, hundreds of people arrested on campuses. So we are waiting to see what will unfold here. Of course, we will have eyes there on the scene right now. And as soon as anything happens, we will be sure to bring that to you with live updates. So like we mentioned, our crew is on the way as well to bring us even more details of what we are seeing there at UC San Diego. Let's turn right now to our other top story this morning. We do have new information about the 3 surfers who left San Diego last week and went missing in Baja California.
And Baja authorities confirmed the 3 bodies found Friday inside a well are those surfers. As CBS 8's Regina Yarita is alive near the border with what we're learning about them. Regina?
Yeah, well, guys, we know that their families were in Mexico yesterday and positively identified their bodies. Now, Mexican authorities say they will continue their investigation and they plan to punish those responsible for the surfers' murders. Take a listen to a little bit of a press conference with Mexican authorities.
Dos de ellas se encuentran detenidas ya.
Baja State Attorney General says 2 men and a woman are in custody and are considered people of interest. This all started last Monday when Ocean Beach resident Callum Robinson, who moved here from Australia with his brother Jake and their friend San Diegan Jack Carter Road, were reported missing. Now, Baja authorities confirmed the relatives had viewed the bodies. They were recovered from a remote well about 50 feet deep. The 3 men were actually on vacation surfing near Ensenada. That's when investigators believe thieves killed the 3 after they attempted to steal their truck. And when the surfers resisted, they were shot and killed. The thieves then allegedly got rid of the bodies by dumping them in a well near the coast. Investigators are still searching the remote area for additional evidence. Meanwhile, the State Department is advising Americans to reconsider traveling to the state due to crime and kidnapping. I should also add that a 4th body was discovered in that whale. This is a body of another man who had been missing in that same area and has no relation to the surfers. That's the latest information we have coming from the U.S.-Mexico border. I'll send things back to you, Chris and Netta.
Thank you so much, Regina. We do want to go back here to UC San Diego, where we have started to see some movement here. Now, while we didn't have the camera up there on our broadcast, of course, we do have our producers and directors there monitoring it there behind the scenes. We're keeping a very close eye on this. It does appear to be some sort of movement, some sort of development. We do see some of those police officers there in what appears to be a lot closer to that encampment. Not clear if they've taken anyone into custody yet, but it does appear that there has been some movement here where they are definitely getting and inching very much closer to this encampment. As we said, this encampment has been pretty much up for about a week now here.
Right.
Pro-Palestinian supporters protesting that war in Gaza, wanting UC as well as UC San Diego to cut ties with Israel, as well as other companies that support Israel in this, again, in this conflict that we see going on in the Middle East. But as our photographer Julio Vasquez here moves to get a different vantage point, you can see sort of the border and the outline of this encampment, which it does appear that,
so
again,
it looks like all of a sudden all of the protesters kind of fled to the opposite side of that encampment, and a lot of the officers did as well. There's still that line of officers that you see in front of you, but it looks like they've almost done a full 360 around the encampment, circling it, and now there are other students that are inside of the encampment, and you can see our photographer, Julio Vasquez, walking to that opposite side, where it looks like they've just started to kind of fill that perimeter as well, and now students are on either side.
Oh, they're trying to
and you can see this.
Continue through. What should point out, too, with the tents that you're seeing right there, just behind where this gentleman is, there's a medic tent that they had set up at the encampment. I'm not sure what this person's telling our photographer, but He's trying to just get an idea of what is happening there as those officers have circled near the medic tent. And from this point, it's hard to tell what's going on. As our photographer now pans to the other side, that's where you can still see there are protesters there. They're not necessarily dispersing. There are a few that are still lining up, and we saw those wooden planks being put up as more protesters are just, kind of holding their ground. And officers may be trying to circle around the entire encampment. It's hard to tell at this point what they're doing. It looks like our photographer did get access past that person to see what's going on here. So they're a little bit closer together.
Yeah, this is that. It does appear that they've made access here into the encampment. Again, those officers,
Right.
as Evan pointed out, were on that far side of this encampment, and now it does appear that they've since seemingly crossed the line, so to speak. Again, they were given the order to disperse. That was several minutes ago. Not clear if this is going to be one big movement like we've seen on other campuses, like at UCLA, where, again, you'll see lines of officers moving in one force, again, just move through an encampment to make sure that they clear that out, or if this is going to be going in at several different points. As you could see, the protesters here now trying to form some sort of a human shield in front of those officers.
And it looks
that have
like
gotten
one
there.
of those officers earlier on, you could see him grabbing part of, a box and moving it to the side. So what it looks like they may have done, I mean, previously when we were looking at this shot just 20 minutes ago, the officers were outside of the encampment. They were not actually entering the encampment at all. Now we see them on the opposite side, starting to what looks to be remove belongings from those protesters. And I'm imagining what we see here is that those protesters, having seen those police come to the other side, have now started to fill that side as well.
I mean, they're using, as you see, those wooden kind of shields.
Yes.
There's, an umbrella, a table, a folded up table that someone's using as well to basically block between the officers and themselves. And yeah, I mean, the officers were not on this side of the encampment. They were not on this side of the walkway at all. They stayed on the other side. But just in the past few minutes, we saw them walk around. It looks like it's a medic tent, but you can also see it says take what you need, food, water, things like that, that they have set up at that encampment. As we've been mentioning, they've been there 6 days now. Last week, it was a lot smaller. It has certainly grown. There are more tents, more people involved in this pro-Palestinian protest as they are trying to stand their ground and say they don't want to leave until the university cuts ties with any investments into Israel. So that's a big part of one of their major pleas that they have. And that's something we've seen at campuses around the country where many
Notably
students
Columbia,
have gathered.
New York,
right.
yeah, UCLA here.
Yeah, unfortunately, UCLA, as we mentioned last week, did turn violent. We saw fireworks, things like that being thrown, and people were arrested. USC as well. There's still an encampment there on campus. But some arrests have been made at other college campuses. Until today, we haven't really seen, the interaction of police and protesters here at UCSD. We've seen pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian protesters marching without any violence, without any arrests needing to be made. And at this point, because of what the chancellor said, that's likely why police are here. The chancellor concerned for any violent clashes, saying since the encampment has tripled in size, they wanted to disperse the crowd and disperse the protesters.
And typically this has been a conversation between local law enforcement and the university itself. And like Netta mentioned, it seems like that's what happened here, was a discussion that was had for police to come in. It looks like they are still on all sides, essentially, of that encampment. And again, on that opposite side that our photographer was previously at, it does look like they were starting to almost enter to where the camp tents were.
As our photographer kind of gets an idea of what's going on, police, they're talking with them as well. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we will be right back with the very latest there live from UC San Diego. We'll see you in a few minutes.